At long last, the 80th anniversary is finally here. This will be the big one, for at least another while. On this day 80 years ago, a book was published called The Three Railway Engines. It was about 3 sentient locomotives, and then from there, it started a whole legacy. For this amazing anniversary, we've got a new Trackmaster line, a die-cast line, a Play-Rail one, which was a big surprise, and also, at the time of recording this, Duck recently returned. And to top all of that off, we recently got the 1983 pilot, which was really cool, and I love it. For this anniversary, I thought I'd discuss something that I haven't really done before, and that is talking about Thomas the Tank Engine's most important characters, which are the 3 railway engines themselves. I was going to cover other characters, but I thought I'd discuss these 3 instead, because it's the 80th anniversary, and I feel like these 3 matter the most. So, with that out of the way, let's cover the one that started it all. Edward the Blue Engine is not a character I have really spoken much about on this channel before. In fact, I barely mentioned him at all, but seeing as he's the first character, and it's about time he got a mention, I think I shall discuss him in this very video. The first reason to why Edward is such an important character in Thomas the Tank Engine is because he was literally the first created. I mean, without him, the whole franchise probably wouldn't even come about, so thanks to Edward, we have this. But that's not all to Edward. I think a key thing that people actually miss out about Edward is the fact that he represents something a lot more grander than people actually think. Edward represents the human spirit. What I mean by this is, if you knock him down once, he'll always get back up again, despite how bad it is. He does not care. He'll just get his passenger train home regardless of the weather or how badly in condition he is. And that's something truly admirable in my eyes. The reason why Edward won't get much coverage in this video is because people have already explained him in the past. So now let's move on to another character, shall we? Henry, the most unfortunate Thomas character. Henry the Green Engine is certainly a very interesting character in Thomas the Tank Engine. Unfortunately, like most characters, he definitely got bastardized in the CGI series. But to be fair, this isn't new, although Henry notably got it worse. I feel very bad for Henry in a way, not only just for how the writers treat him, but also in the show as well. Like, this guy can never catch a break, can he? Henry honestly represents something pretty sad in the show, and that is reality. See, reality has its ups and downs. One day you're going good, you know you're in some Welsh coal and you're feeling fine, and the next day you have a crash into another goods train. But despite all of that, Henry always gets back up on his feet regardless, and that's a similarity that he and Edward do share, and they do not have any similarities aside from that. I think the episode The Flying Kipper shows us off perfectly, which is not only one of the best episodes, but is definitely the best Henry episode overall, and is my actual second favourite episode of the entire show as it goes, and that's something I've never mentioned. This is why I love Henry the Green Engine, and this is why he's my second favourite character overall. But there's one thing that annoys me whenever a fan mentions Henry the Green Engine, or at least the true one, is that Henry is a green version of Gordon. Man, oh man, could they be more wrong. Henry is not a green Gordon. He's more complicated than that. To further prove my point is shown in the episode Henry's Forest. This episode in my eyes is Henry's true best episode. Whilst my favourite episode will always be Flying Kipper, I've always had a soft spot for Henry's Forest. Even when I was little, I always loved this episode. This episode shows when Henry's not around other engines and he has a soft spot for nature, and shows Henry's more caring side. This is easily one of the best episodes of season 3, and despite me not really liking him, Andrew Brenner really did hit out of the park with this episode indeed. In conclusion regarding Henry, this is why he's such an important character in Thomas. He represents tragedy and reality in Thomas the Tank Engine. He's a sense of groundedness, if that makes sense. Now let's cover the most important of them all, Gordon. Now we cover arguably the most important character in Thomas the Tank Engine, the one that makes Thomas the Tank Engine, well, Thomas the Tank Engine obviously, Gordon the Big Engine. Whilst other people have spoken about Gordon, and I am working on a video related to Gordon which will be out some point in June, I thought I'd briefly talk about him here, because with Gordon there's a lot more to talk about than the other two, to be honest. Gordon the Big Engine represents the most important thing in this franchise, and that is life, also known as time, because a recurring theme in Thomas the Tank Engine is time. He represents life at the start and its end. The start would be Edward and Gordon, where Gordon is at his most pompous and rude. Gordon's ego is so out of whack at the beginning of the show, to the point where he basically thinks he is the most important engine that will ever live. Of course, like most pompous and arrogant engines that appear in the series, Gordon is not exactly perfect. He makes mistakes. In a lot of episodes, in fact in the first season, demonstrate this perfectly. But the time where Gordon really fucked up, and this was so bad, it's probably the worst thing Gordon's ever done in the whole franchise, to be honest, is in the episode Off the Rails, which is fantastic, because it demonstrates Gordon's flaws and how his actions have consequences. This episode doesn't need an introduction because it's appeared on my channel several times, but I'm going to give it one anyway. Gordon doesn't want to pull goods train, so he jams the turntable but ends up landing into a ditch, which is a foil to his plans. I think the title for this episode is actually quite genius because literally Gordon goes off the rails, but also mentally at the same time. Gordon finally accepts the fact that he isn't at the top of the world and he has to face the truth. This all culminates in the episode Down the Mine, which discusses Thomas and Gordon's dynamic. Thomas and Gordon are very flawed characters, but in different ways, so it makes sense why they bounce off each other. So Thomas falls down a mine. Gordon, the true hero of this franchise, comes to Thomas's rescue, and after much effort, they pull Thomas out of the mine. Now are both disgraced, so these two finally decide to make an alliance. These two prior did not like each other very much, I think it's fairly safe to say, but now they are good friends. This is why Gordon is such an important character, and dare I say it, the most important in general. Gordon has the most distinct and biggest character journey out of every single engine that appears in this series. But even over time, he grows old and has to accept the fact that he isn't the best anymore, seeing episodes like Gordon and Spencer for example. There is so much else I would absolutely love to cover with Gordon the Big Engine, because honestly I reckon I could be here for hours, longer than the Unlucky Tug's recent Soldier's Finest video on Thomas himself. But due to a time limit, that's all I can really cover with Gordon the Big Engine. There's lots of other things I would love to discuss about Gordon. This guy is a truly great character, and which leads me to believe Gordon is the most important character in this franchise, and no one will ever top him. That pretty much covers everything then. I'm so sorry that this upload was quite late, and it's only an hour before the 80th anniversary ends by the time I'm finishing this. So, yeah. Also, update to the channel, I'm not dead, I am taking a break. For the rest of May, don't expect much to be honest, but in June I will make a comeback. I promise you that. I hope all of you have had a good 80th anniversary. I know I have. Have a great rest of the day, and have a great tomorrow. Bye for now.